welcome to another episode of the Herd Main Show. I'm your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I am the dark clone of your herd mom, Megan. Megan.
Because she's got different color hair. That's how you know she's evil.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is dark Megan, but I think I'm just regular Megan.
It's just regular Megan.
It's just regular Megan.
But blue hair. Welcome to Season 4. These are just a taste of the conversations that you can expect. If you are new to Nerdherder, this is Season 4. We've been doing this for, 47 episodes.
Wow.
So, and that's just the main show. We are probably well over 100 or so. I mean, we did 30 Clone Wars, 30 Motivations.
Yeah, we've already done 100 episode special.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, because we've already done 100 episodes total. And we just passed 10,000 total plays across all platforms, which is wow. So lots of milestones for us here. Season 4, which, Season 4, we don't take breaks for seasons. Normally, we had to take a break last week because Hurricane Dorian passed through, and our work brings us right up into helping deal with that. It didn't directly affect us, but by taking a break, we were able to help those who it did directly affect, which is always nice. Yeah. And so normally we don't take that kind of break. Seasons just mean we're entering a new quarter. So this is the final quarter of the year, and so this is our time. Nothing really changes, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But
it's a way to quantify where we're at.
Yeah, it's kind of just a mile marker. And I will say, I'll redact my previous statement. Changes are coming. We are working to improve things. We've mentioned before that we're working on getting a better recording schedule set out. You have a new job, my job's getting crazy, and life in general is just unpredictable. So we're trying to predict as much as we can and ensure that this happens regardless of what else happens. Because Season 3 was a hard season to get through. I think we should have been at 53 episodes by the time of Season 4, so we've missed quite a few because things just got crazy and things got in the way, and we've just been very bad at kind of predicting what's going to happen. And that's just kind of life, I guess. Yeah. But in promising you guys a show, we want to make sure that happens no matter what, and that at least what you get is quality. So Season 4 is where we are working very hard to ensure that happens. We're also making a couple of other changes because you might have seen that Star Wars Motivations, Monday's Motivations, that's a spoiler. Monday Motivations didn't happen this week, and that's because we're making some changes to our lineup. Yeah. So Monday Motivations is now becoming Star Wars Motivations. Because if you haven't noticed, getting it out on a Monday is very difficult. Yeah. Sunday, Monday are two of the hardest days for us. So we're going to switch it over to Star Wars Motivations, and it's going to go to a bi-weekly status. It might be on Monday, it might be on Thursday, it might be on Saturday, but it will get out on a bi-weekly. So every month you should get 2. What's going to happen the other weeks is, if you don't know, for a while back, we had a sister podcast, Unmasked. That started off because we have other interests other than Star Wars, and we wanted to be able to show those off as well. And it just came at a poor time. Again, that was Season 3, so that was a season where we were like, oh, things are going very well and it's really working out, and then life threw a bunch of curveballs at us, and so it was just bad timing. But we're bringing it back, and so once a month. It was originally going to be a weekly, but now it's going to once a month. Once a month for us to be able to talk about something else we love that's not Star Wars. If you like scary movies, and if you like knowing how they're made and all of that stuff, that's what that show's about. And so once a month we're going to be putting out an episode of the Unmasked podcast. Over on Unmasked now, we're basically going to be taking chunks, kind of like what this main show is, where we just take chunks of Star Wars and talk about it. We're going to be doing that with horror movies, horror series, and all kinds of stuff.
And that's not to say that movies are not going to get individual attention. That's just
if they're big enough, they'll have to. Yeah.
Absolutely. But at the same time, you have a series like Friday the 13th, where it has a whole chunk of movies that are exactly the same plot.
If you go to Friday the 13th is the longest It has the most in the series.
It
was, if we did it once a month,
8.
It would take a year to talk about all of those movies, literally. So in order to just be able to sit down and talk, we're switching our format over there. And so once a month, if you want to hear from us and not about Star Wars, not that that's anything bad, we have that. We're going to be updating Unmasked, and you can actually go now and on Spotify, iTunes, all of that stuff, Anchor, everywhere you can find Nerdherder, you can find Unmasked, and you can listen to our previous few episodes. But so that's going to a once a month basis. So when you're not getting a Monday motivation or Star Wars motivation, I got to get used to that. I'm going to slip up a lot on that. But
happens.
When you're not getting a Star Wars motivation, you could listen to our second podcast, or also once a month you can listen to our third podcast. You know how we said, hey, things are crazy and busy, we should calm down.
No, but we're not gonna calm down at all.
We're just getting smarter about how not calm we are. So if you don't know, a while back we started what was the Nerdyverse Network, which was kind of supposed to be this encapsulating thing of both Unmasked, Nerdherder, and we had a couple of other ideas for content out there. And so Nerdyverse was kind of supposed to be the catch-all. This is the way you know everything that we're doing and whatnot. Nerdyverse is still a thing, but it's no longer Nerdyverse Network.
No, it's becoming an encapsulated item in itself.
Right. So the network has now become the podcast.
Yes.
So Nerdyverse Podcast, if you follow our Nerdyverse Network Twitter page or anything like that, then you would have probably seen that it's changed to Nerdyverse Podcast now.
Yeah.
And subtle, I know, but that essentially it's another time where we're not going to talk about Star Wars. We're going to talk about everything not Star Wars that we love.
We're going to talk about specifically a few ideas that we threw out. We're talking about cartoons. We're going to talk about why I love Rocko's Modern Life and John hates Rocko's Modern Life.
Sure.
We're going to talk about stuff that we love. Like, you remember the Warriors of Virtue movie? I'm going to make you watch that and we're going to talk about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know about
stuff
this.
Stuff like that. Well,
I did not give my consent.
That's the point.
Okay.
Because
that's how you get them.
If I had told
if
you
you
about
asked,
this, you
I
would
wouldn't.
ran.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if you are a patron, which if you're not, why not?
Yeah.
Send our cats to college. If you're not a patron, then you aren't getting our after show. It's a little bonus episode where we take another 30 minutes and talk about things that aren't Star Wars. It's just kind of us chatting. And Nerdyverse is kind of an expanded version of that because we just really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun just talking about stuff that we love.
Yeah. And so basically, if you enjoy us and what we do, first of all, thank you.
Yeah.
Second of all, what's wrong with you? No. But if you like what we do, but you love other things than Star Wars, well, so do we. So we want to be able to highlight those things.
Yeah.
And so we're just creating ways to do that. So we're going to put out essentially the same amount of episodes. It's just we're going to get smarter about it. So to recap, Wednesdays stay the same. You're getting a main show from the Nerdherder Network all the time. Fridays stay the same. You're getting our Rebels rewatch until we run out of Rebels, and then we just move on to Resistance. So it's not like that's going away. Mondays, instead of having one a week of Monday motivations, now you're going to get 2 a month of Star Wars motivations. And on the alternating Mondays, or at some point that week, we'll also update over on our second podcast, Unmasked, talking about horror movies we love. And we'll also update over on Nerdyverse podcast, where we just talk about something else that we love. So it's just us talking about stuff we love. Some of it's Star Wars, some of it's not. And if you want to check it out, cool. It's just that, like, obviously we love Star Wars. Obviously we love doing this. But we also love other things. And I guess maybe just as kind of a side outlet to be able to talk about those things, that's kind of why we're starting the other podcast. Because we were like, hey, who's going to listen to our Star Wars podcast? And yet here we are.
Yeah.
So we figure, well, we want to talk about these things, so let's just do it and see who listens. And so, but, you know, it's not meant to subtract away from Nerdherder at all. That's why we're going to once a month on those shows. We really want to go more, but at the end of the day, our passion project, our podcast baby, is Nerdherder. And so that's always going to get the most out of us. And so that's some of the things that's coming with season 4. So while it's not going to be anything crazy changing. There are some updates. And so we're excited for season 4 and what it's going to be like. And hopefully it all pans out. I mean, we're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants. We've only been doing this a year.
Yeah, our pants have wings.
Yeah. And we want to do it more. We want to do it a lot more years. And so this is just a way of kind of playing with the idea of what this can grow into. So... yeah. And you're just along for the journey. So, but definitely check it out. Unmasked Podcast, Nerdyverse Podcast. You can find them both on Twitter. And like I said, anywhere you can find Nerdherder, you can find those. So, yeah. So that's season 4, kind of in a nutshell of what's happening. That's a long intro, but
well, it's a
there you go.
pistachio nutshell.
It's
really
pistachio.
hard to get into.
Yeah, you had to break into it.
Yeah, with a hammer.
But luckily, we don't have a whole lot of news this week. Actually, it's mostly gaming news.
Right.
Surprisingly. So we'll cover our news and then we'll get into our main show. Today we're talking about episode 9 theories. And we asked for your opinions and we've gotten a few good ones back. And so I think it's going to be a lot of cool conversation. But got to talk about the news first. Alright, so with Battlefront and Fallen Order news, it's kind of easy to forget that there's other Star Wars games out there. But there is. And one such is Vader Immortal, which we just recently finally broke into. We've had the Oculus Quest for quite a while, and access to Vader Immortal for quite a while. Yeah. But life's been crazy, so we haven't gotten into it. But we're now getting into it, and it's awesome. And that's just episode 1.
Yeah.
Now we're getting news that possibly we might see episode 2 later this year. Oculus Connects, which is kind of like their version of kind of a Expo, news and gaming and all this other stuff.
Gotcha.
It's all Oculus, all news. And so there's a lot of rumors going around that we're going to get, obviously, info on episode 2, because if you went to D23 or Comic-Con, they had updates on episode 2. But they're expecting to get some very serious updates and even a possible release date of episode 2. And a lot of sources are very confident that it'll be probably for this Christmas.
Well, let's hope so, because what better way to avoid your family than VR?
Exactly. It's surprising because episode 1 came out in May, and I expected it to be a once a year kind of thing. But at the same time, it's also not a full game. It's not like Fallen Order. It's not like, years and years in development kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess it kind of makes sense we could get another one. I would certainly love to not have to wait forever for the next installment, but it's interesting. And
yeah, it seems like it's going to be a really good long series for Star Wars games.
Yeah, and when I hope that this is a start to something, because they've done Star Wars VR like with your phone and other small things, and so this is the biggest thing Star Wars VR's done. Obviously since the Void VR, but like in-home experience for VR, this is like one of the biggest things. And I think this is a really good start to future Star Wars storytelling, because I think it works so well to put it in VR.
Absolutely.
I don't want every Star Wars game to be VR, but I think that having a consistent Star Wars VR game would be great.
Oh man, could you imagine a General Grievous VR experience where you're sitting like on a ship or in a chair and you look up and you see Grievous scuttling along the ceiling?
That would be a good scary one.
That would be a good horror one.
Well, and that's the thing, is there's so many elements from Star Wars that would work so great in that kind of setting that VR pulls out. And obviously Vader Immortal, it's not like a super scary thing, but it does pull out the things where it's like, when you feel like you're there, you know you're not, but when you feel like you're there, all of a sudden it's more intimidating than you might think, standing next to Darth Vader and so forth. Yeah,
I always say, when I tell people about the Void VR, there's a moment where you're flying on a little transport droid.
Or skiff.
The skiff, it feels like you're flying on it, and so every time we did it, I was like, I'm gonna fly.
Yeah, it's
really
VR
good.
really gets to you.
You feel the heat on your face, and they've got little fans in the floor that blow on you.
Oh yeah.
Or just a guy named Jeff who blows on you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had garlic for lunch.
And so, I would love Void to expand as well.
Absolutely.
Because it's by the same company, and
I want to do the Wreck-It Ralph one.
Oh yeah. Void can do what home VR can't, but I think the more Star Wars can strengthen their relationship with VR gaming, the better, because I think there's so many possibilities and it's going to be good. So we've just figured out how to record with our Oculus. So if you know, we like Star Wars games, and that's something we're working on growing out is our Twitch, which right now I'm good to hopefully try and get some Battlefront, but we also we started and we need to finish a playthrough of Force Unleashed and Star Wars Lego. And Star Wars Lego, the Skywalker saga is coming out, so that's going to be something. So we are going to be gaming more, and one of the games that you can see us play through soon is going to be Vader Immortal. So if you just head over to our YouTube channel, you can subscribe there. It'll eventually end up there. But if you want to see and join us live for some gameplay, not of Oculus, but of like Battlefront or the Force Unleashed, then you can head over to our Twitch. It's Nerdherder Gaming .Twitch TV or something like that. Just search Nerdherder. Like there's not many Nerdherders out there. I mean, there's apparently one other one, but we're not salty. No. Yeah, we came first. But so that's so Vader Immortal getting some cool news, which is nice. And like we said, you can check it out. YouTube, Twitch. We'll be playing through some sort of Star Wars game at any point. So if you just like Star Wars games and like us, then you can check that out there. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it in terms of news. I mean, we could run down all the books that are coming out that are exciting. I mean, next month is Star Wars Resistance Season 2. There's just a lot of cool stuff, but most things everybody knows. We like to stick to things that maybe you didn't hear this, or, you know, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so, I mean, but Vader Immortal, Star Wars gaming in general is very exciting. You know, Jedi Fallen Order, you can pre-order the art book for that, which is very interesting. If you look at the covers, I'm not going to talk about it here because I'm not going to talk about it here, but if you look at the covers, it's very morbid. It's very interesting because, you know, this game has been so sold so far on you're going to be fighting Empire and doing all these things, but this is very spiritual, forcey stuff, it seems to suggest. So this game might be bigger in story and depth than we originally understood. Anyway, that's the news. That's more than the news. That's more than you bargained for. But so we're gonna dive into our main topic now.
Yay, main show!
So we're gonna try and do this with minimal interruption. But so far, our cat's being our cat. I don't know what I expect.
She's in her twilight years. She's 14
she's ornery,
years old.
She's annoying, but dang if she's not cute.
She's so cute.
That's how she gets away with everything. She's annoying as heck, but she's cute.
She's my little Halloween baby.
So it's kind of hard to stay angry.
Yeah. Oh, I got some Halloween Star Wars pumpkins and we forgot to put them in the
background. Oh, well, next week. So like we've already mentioned and been trying to get to... see, there's a whole bunch you don't get. Yeah. There's a whole bunch that you, the listener, do not get in an episode.
Yeah, you don't hear Leader John using his dad voice.
There's so much content that you're missing out, guys. Join Patreon, you might get it. Help us send our cats to college, because dang if they're not annoying.
Join Patreon to get me a better mug.
The one that does not leak.
It doesn't, like, I know I'm holding it wrong, but...
Well, I mean, who wants to see the back of a sloth? Ooh. It's boring. Alright, so our main topic, our main show, today we're talking about Star Wars theories, and, Star Wars Episode 9 theories specifically, because last time we put out a show, we were kind of diving into all of the newness of Episode 9 from D23 and all of that, and there was just a lot happening there where it's like, trying to understand what's happening, and also like exploring the what ifs. Like, you know, like, so it was like we need to just put that to the side, give it its own episode, and thus this is born. And so we're definitely not going to get through absolutely every theory there is and everything there is. No. Instead, we decided to focus on the big ones, and I guess the big ones that we're into, and the ones that quite a lot of people seem to be talking about. I mean, we're not claiming here to break new ground in theories or create a new theory that no one else is talking about or anything like that. Everything we're talking about, everybody else is talking about. The only difference here is we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And we're just going to talk through it, share our thoughts, and so forth and so on. And we always do this. We have our conversations so that we can bring you into the conversation. So we want to hear from you guys through our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Let us know what you think about these Star Wars Episode 9 theories. And if there's other ones that we didn't talk about that you're like, this is amazing and it will melt your face, hit us up. Melt our faces. So,
melt my face.
Yeah, Indiana Jones style. So
don't look, Marion.
Don't look. But do look at these theories. So we're gonna just talk through a few of them, and I'm gonna kind of give the floor to you to start out with because this was your.
Yes, this was my contribution.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't mean it like that. I mean like this was your this has to be in this episode one.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk about it because I saw it getting some kind of negative attention on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing, though. It gets negative attention supposedly on Twitter, but on YouTube, everybody's all for it. A lot of petitions are now out there to hire Matt Pat to write the next Star Wars movie. I think that's a little generous.
I
think that's a little generous, but I do think
the negative, really the galaxy.
This is my favorite. Here's the thing about Matt Pat.
Yeah.
I really do think he likes Star Wars, but he's not like.
He's not a Star Wars guy.
He's not right. Like it's not his biggest thing. He's a kind of everything kind of guy. Yeah. And if you've seen his channel, Film Theory or Game Theory, if you've watched him and his wife stream, you know they kind of get into a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to gatekeep in the sense that he's not a real fan, but I mean,
if you like the movies, you're a real fan.
There's
anything,
two
really.
things that come from him not being only and obsessed with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Number one, he sees things from a very different perspective.
Yeah.
So when he criticizes Star Wars, he's not criticizing it because of any certain director or because of when it came out or because of CGI. He's criticizing it as a theorist and as a film expert.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's coming at it from the idea of a good movie. And so it's not targeted criticism, it's just criticism.
Yeah.
Also, because he's kind of third party to things, when he comes up with theories, he doesn't have any loyalties to one side of the fan base or the other.
Exactly.
And so this one is a pretty good theory, I'll say. And
it takes lore and it takes, what we get in the films. It takes a lot of, stuff. And guys, it came out before we got Rise of Skywalker.
That's what's most interesting is because
Yeah.
I think the new footage actually even helps his case.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. I don't think he's coming up with a theory to save Star Wars.
No.
I don't think he's coming up with a theory to fix Star Wars. I think he's just coming up with a theory of what he thinks Star Wars is going to try and do.
Yeah.
And I think if you try and make it about anything else, if you try and make it this smear campaign or anything, that's where a lot of the crazy stuff happens.
And at the end of the day, if it had been come up with by, let's say, Hello Greedo, or let's say Steel Wars, let's say any popular, Star Wars person, would you have jumped on it that hard?
Well, I think I think the fandom, I mean, again, looks at him as, like, you're not a good enough fan to be having these kinds of ideas or you can't talk about this until you see X and X and talk about what
we tend to be so freaking gatekeepy with our Star Wars theories when in reality anyone can theorize, anyone can come up with a good idea and just chill, dog.
Here's the thing, I've heard some much crazier and much worse ideas. So
go eat some nachos and calm down.
So, highly recommend. I mean, we're going to talk about it here, but if you want his full thesis on his opinion, his theory of Star Wars, highly recommend you check it out.
So, basically, what boils down is the theory is that Rey was created by Palpatine on Jakku, or his followers, really, in the event of his death, and that is why he is so obsessed with building an observatory on Jakku, because that happened in
the Aftermath trilogy. The Aftermath trilogy and Shattered Empires, where we learn that's all we really have for now on post Return of the Jedi. And basically, Palpatine had plans for the Empire if he died. But while
man of contingency.
Yeah, but while he was alive, he was obsessed with spreading his reach, and he had observatories on multiple planets. And basically, these were just vaults where he would keep Force relics. And if you've seen Star Wars Rebels, that's why he was obsessed with Lothal, is because of its connection with the Force. And so stuff like that. That was what when everybody's like, well, we see the Empire, but what the heck was Palpatine up to? He was exploring the galaxy, trying to find everything to do with the Force and lock it in a closet. He was just obsessed with that, and it's very true to his character. When you see in the prequels, he's got statues from Sith relics and all this other like he's obsessed with the history of the Force, but in a way to use it, which is what specifically the Jakku Observatory.
Palpatine is so obsessed with being the Force.
Yeah,
and
like he's obsessed with gatekeeping.
Exactly. He is the Senate.
Right.
He will be Chancellor.
He
that
is
kind of stuff.
the power of he is the ultimate rule and power. That's his goal.
He took a DNA test. He is 100% the Senate.
Right.
I can't say the real line.
And so that has to do with Jakku. He's obsessed with it. In later on, his followers, Gallius Rax and so forth, they continue that obsession and believe that Jakku is directly related to continuing the legacy. Although the way they talk about it, you can take it his legacy or his actual life. But they're obsessed that they're like, Jakku is the key. And it's a very similar theme to what's going on in the sequel films. Jakku is somehow important, even though it's not.
Yeah, and in the theory, he, points to her specific lack of parents. The prowess with the Force, even though she is a novice, or not at all, really. An attraction towards the dark side, specifically.
Right.
And in the end, he theorizes that she will fall to the dark and Kylo will turn to the light in the climax. Kind of a mismatch of what we're used to. Making Palpatine the villain of the Star Wars series nonology. And the Skywalker's chosen family will bring balance to the Force. It's not a bad theory.
I really like it. I mean, in terms of ways for Palpatine to return, and a way to explain Rey.
I mean, you could say that we've seen Palpatine creating life before.
Right, so that's the thing, is he's obviously obsessed with that power of creating life, manipulating the Force to create life. He's obviously obsessed with continuing his life. And, he does so to be, he has to be ultimate, almost the Thanos style of, I'm inevitable. I'm the one that has all the answers and knows the thing. I'm the one that should be in charge. And Palpatine has that same prideful presence of, the universe needs me. It doesn't know it, but it needs me. And so I have to figure out how to live forever, because the whole galaxy is just going to be chaos. And, it's going to be just, a mess unless I'm there to give it order and give it direction. Yeah. And in return, it's just going to all serve me.
And he was obsessed with his own preservation of self.
Right, which is a direct counter to what the Sith are obsessed with passing on, actually. The rule of two and Darth Bane began with, it's got to continue. It's got to go on to someone else, but it has to be someone strong enough to deserve it. And so Sidious is actually both, heretical in the light side of the Force and the dark side, because the dark side, it's a matter of the apprentice kills the master to continue the legacy of the dark side. He doesn't want that. No. He, every apprentice, if you look, his whole thing about it is about them serving him but never replacing him. Yeah,
he chose apprentices that were strong but weak enough.
Right, that he could
turn
exploit.
The screw.
And so this is just a continuation of that. His obsession with immortality and continuing life actually shows that, he's not even really properly Sith, if you can say that. But basically, he's going against everything. He's trying to create his own path. I don't think he's out for it. He talks about the Sith and whatnot.
No.
and the Sith will rule the galaxy and whatnot. He's not talking about that.
He's talking about
he wants himself to rule, and he wants everyone else to serve him.
Exactly.
And so it makes sense that he would have a plan to ensure that, because I mean, so I guess let's save more the Palpatine side of it. We have a Palpatine section for theories.
We do.
We'll talk about that, I guess, more there. But what I like about the theory is a good explanation for Rey, because I don't think it would devalue her character as much as people think.
No.
I think there's still a strong storytelling moment there in terms of, much like Anakin realized in the Darth Vader 25 comic issue and so forth, where like his mind tells him this is what you're meant to be, this monster, and there's no saving you. But the beautiful storytelling is that in the end, that's not true. He can choose to be better. And I think that's a very similar strong story for Rey in terms of if this proves true that Palpatine created her for some evil purpose, and even say she does at some point believe that and falls into that, the power of her choice to say, I'm going to be different, actually. I'm not going to do what I was created for. I'm going to do what I want. I think that's still strong storytelling for her character. Yeah. And while I'm a big advocate for the whole, her parents should be nobody, because the whole thing is the Skywalkers are kind of this praised, holier than thou kind of family, and it should be open access to the Force. And that's been a big element of Disney canon storytelling, is anybody can believe in the Force. Anybody can have power in the Force.
Yeah. That's been kind of Disney's whole deal. Anyone can blank.
Right. And I think there's elements of that still in the story if Rey were to realize she was created for evil but choose to be good anyway. Is this like, there's no destiny to it. There's no preordained, this is the only family that can connect to the Force. Like, you can choose a different path. I think that is strong storytelling for Rey still.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a huge reason we got, at the end of The Last Jedi, that little boy using the Force. Like, there's a message in that moment of, this could be you. This could be anyone. Like, this is the future of the Force.
Right. Well, and that's been it's a powerful storytelling. It's a necessary storytelling. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, with a title like The Rise of Skywalker, and with an emphasis on it's the Skywalker saga, I do think that, it's conflicting messages, because you have to kind of focus on the ones it's kind of about.
Yeah. And
I think that this is another story. This theory blends into that as well, is it makes it about the Skywalkers versus Palpatine. Yeah. The great supposed good and the great evil.
Yeah.
And so, and I do like and we'll talk about this when we talk about Dark Rey, is I like the idea of her actually going bad, maybe. And, I think there's some strong storytelling there and a lot of cool character elements there. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoy film theory. But do again recommend you check it out for yourself. Film theory, Star Wars. It's his most recent upload, so
be kind to Matt Pat.
Yeah, I think it's a really good theory. And I mean, I can understand, again, like, I understand. I was all for she needs to be nobody. But my reason for her being a nobody versus being a Skywalker or something like that is because I want the attention drawn away from her just being the good person and the strong person that she is just because of her family. I think this theory still does that for me because, again, this theory would say that she's strong in who she is because of her family being Palpatine. So I think there's still strong choice in her saying, nah, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what I want for Rey's character. I want her story and her climax in The Rise of Skywalker to be about her saying, I'm going to do what I want. Because I think that's a big part for her and for Ben in terms of, like, forget the heritage, forget all this other stuff. Do what you want. If you want to be, if you want to be who you want to be, just be that.
Yeah.
Just, like, That's all I want for those two characters, honestly, is it to come down to just do what you want.
Yeah.
So that theory gives us a good jumping off point for the Dark Ray stuff.
Yes.
Because this is the thing that everybody's talking about, and like I said, we're not going to, I don't think, really break new ground. I mean, if anything, the most new thing we're going to talk about was the game, gosh, I keep saying game theory, the film theory that maybe not everybody had heard of or had access to and whatnot, that we are now encouraging you to go check out. Everything else, pretty much everybody's talking about again. So we're just being so basic and predictable that we're just talking about everything everybody else is talking about, because that's how Star Wars podcasting works.
Yeah.
All the episodes for the next couple weeks are just about this. So, but Dark Ray, it was arguably the biggest kind of jaw drop in the new footage. It was kind of probably the biggest thing to happen. And I think the reason everybody's talking about it is because it's the most theory fuel of what in the world. Because it was already bad enough they were doing, okay, Palpatine's coming back. It was already bad enough that we were having to wrap our minds around that. But now, Dark Ray somehow, something, you know, and the first and easy conclusion is it's a vision. And we'll talk about some of the elements of how that could work and still be significant. Because I think it'd be more impactful if it wasn't a vision. Because I think if it's a vision, kind of wasted pizzazz, kind of like, you know, like showing it off is like, it has no real weight because it's just an apparition. It's not real.
Well, would you say that the scene on Dagobah where Luke goes into the cave has no real...
Well, if they emphasize that as the fight between Luke and Vader, yeah. Like, if you're selling it as the thing, and it's not the thing, it's kind of cheap. So, I feel like for it to have proper payoff, it's got to be a little bit more than just, ooh, spooky vision.
And it probably will be.
I hope so.
It'll probably be a lot more than we get in the trailer.
But, so, I mean, the obvious first conclusion is it's a vision.
Yeah.
In the essence of Dagobah.
Yeah. Or the Jedi trials. And
yeah, like this is Rey being faced with Rey in order to become a stronger Jedi kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever we're going to call them. I don't know. I mean, they say it's not the last Jedi, but then, I don't know. The Jedi definitely have to change, like Jedi 2.0. Like,
yeah.
It can't be the same old Jedi.
The rays of light.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Thank you.
So the simplest way to go about it is Rey is having some sort of vision for some sort of trial of... Because everybody has the dark side in them. Everybody has elements that need to be dealt with and addressed, and if just left and ignored, can overtake you and make you just a bad person.
Yeah.
That's real life, and that's Star Wars. So it makes sense to be like, well, you've got to face yourself. Because, like Matt Pat mentions in the film theory, she does have an affinity for the dark side. You know, in The Last Jedi especially, they emphasize she's drawn to it, which I do, again, believe everyone kind of is. That's what's attractive about it, is it pulls you in with what you want. But certainly with her power, it seems to be speaking louder. So, it would make sense that she has a stronger battle within her to have to quell that dark side.
Yeah.
So, simplest form, it could be that she's just having that vision.
Or it could be the vision of someone else. It couldn't necessarily be Rey's vision solely.
Right. And so that's another element where if it's a vision I would prefer is if it's actually a vision for Kylo.
Yes.
The way I think about it is this idea of, this is something Kylo's seeing that, though I kind of see it in a parallel with Episode 6 when Vader's tempting Luke. Luke's hiding, he's refusing to fight, and Vader tempts him out and tempts his anger with, he senses about Leia. It's like, oh, you have a sister that you're worried about. Which, first of all, that was the calmest reaction to, holy crap, I have another kid? But
Padme, what the heck?
Right, like, I have a son. It's this moment where he's like, there's another. So you're not the only hope. I could, if you won't accept my offer, then maybe she will.
Yeah.
And so it's this idea of, I feel like the way I would like this to play out is this is a vision maybe from Palpatine in terms of, I'm choosing you, Ben Solo, to be my progeny. I want to pour into you and make you more powerful and use you to bring order to the galaxy. And he's like, I don't want that. I just kind of, I just want to kind of get out of the boot of my parents and my heritage. I just, I just don't want to be Ben Solo. And it's like, oh, okay, you can be Ben Solo, sure, whatever. But, that pretty girl, I'm going to take her instead. So it's like this vision of, see what you could become. Nah, I don't really want that. Oh, okay. Well, see what she's going to become if you don't choose it. It's this idea of, it's actually Kylo making this selfless sacrifice of, I would rather it be me destroyed by the dark side than Rey. So I'm actually going to go along with this to save her.
It's kind of reminiscent of kind of Palpatine's plan for Luke. Of like, you're going to kill your dad and then you're going to become my apprentice. I think he had that idea.
Oh yeah, because if he'd killed his dad, then he would have had to tap into the dark side, and that meant that Palpatine could manipulate him. Yeah, so it's this weird thing where it's like, in an effort of light, he accepts the dark, is how I see it going with Kylo. Because I kind of see it, I don't see Kylo willingly working for Palpatine or going along with him. I see this manipulation being how Palpatine gets him, because he's obviously connected with Rey and obviously cares about her. So, and I mean, it's kind of the whole Anakin Padme thing of like, I'm going to do these horrible things to do one good thing. And it's like, it's the same for him. I'm going to do all these horrible things to do one good thing, which is to save Rey from this.
Yeah.
If it's going to be a vision, I would rather it be something for Kylo and for Ben, or Kylo Ben, than for Rey, because I feel like it would have way more oomph in the story.
Yeah.
Like, because basically, does it mean we don't get real Darkseid Rey? Yeah, but the reason we don't hits my heartstrings more than, oh, good job, you beat the darkness within you. Yeah, we've already seen that. I don't want that. I want Kylo Ben doing this selfless thing of like, you can't have the girl.
You were so close to doing your George Lucas.
For what? No, I was gonna do Yoda, but I was like, I'm not smart enough to do Yoda, because like, as soon I can do Yoda without the voice, and I can do the Yoda voice, but as soon as I put the two together, I can't talk backwards. Like, my brain hurts thinking that much. So I was gonna try and do Yoda, because I like, if it's gonna be a trial, obviously some Force Ghost's got to be there.
That's why my Yoda impression is just, which is also my Miss Piggy impression.
Right.
Which is also my Marge Simpson impression. Homie.
So versatile. So versatile.
I am serious. Miss Piggy is just like Yoda, toned up a little bit and feminized.
Well, yeah. I mean, even
Frank Oz.
Frank Oz says that. Like, even he's honest about it.
I freaking love Frank Oz.
But yeah, like, I just think that if it's got to be a vision, if it's got to be not real, the best way to do it is a way that really, like, soul-crushingly makes its way into the story. And, I mean, think of the Reylos. Just think of the Reylos. Think of the minds lost when he's like, you can't have her.
No.
Take me instead. Like, I love that. And the thing is, Palpatine wouldn't look at it as, oh, you want to save her? No, I'm going to use her instead. Like, no, Palpatine's going to be like, exactly as I want. He wants that.
He is a master manipulator.
Exactly.
It's generational manipulation.
Exactly.
For Pete's sake.
And so, and I think, that's a way to bring a Skywalker / Solo, because Ben is the last of that lineage. He's mingled with Solo, but that just makes him cooler. But he's the last. That'd be a way to bring them more forward in the story.
Yeah.
Because it's always been so even with Rey and Ben that I feel like in the Rise of Skywalker, Ben has to take a little bit of the lead in terms of story depth, because it's about his family, and that's what I love about the idea of it's not a chosen one, it's a chosen family.
Exactly.
I love the idea of this heritage of light versus just one dark that just won't die. Like, I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, the more real and the more tangible, but also the more out there concept is, could this be a clone? So this is a very popular theory out there, is that Dark Rey is a clone. It's not our Rey.
She needs a few more vowels than her name to be a clone.
Rey.
Rey.
Oh my gosh, it'd be, I just Rey.
Luke.
If you don't get that joke, there's a story where Luke was cloned, and the only way you could tell them apart was that Luke had like 3 U's.
It had 2.
It was L-U-U. 2 new. It was longer than that.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure it had
Luke.
It was Luke. Basically, he had multiple U's. It was so stupid.
There were 2 U's.
That was the original Clone Wars, supposedly, but whatever. Anyway, but yes, this kind of connects back to the film theory in terms of how Palpatine kind of can come back, because if he was obsessed with creating Rey in order to have some sort of lineage, supposedly maybe this Rey kind of has a Goku story, bumped her head, just turned good all of a sudden, and so this would be his second attempt.
That is a great concept, isn't it?
What? Amnesia?
Just to hit his head,
moral
and
amnesia.
all of a sudden, good boy.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be that one failed, but I have this other one sitting in the fridge, so let's pop that one out and see what happens.
Pop the top on that clone, fam.
And so that would be his sort of way of coming back. And again, it would kind of give a heritage to Rey. Like, do you think it... I mean, here's the thing. If Rey is connected to Palpatine anyway, it's got to be some sort of genetic modification. Like,
it's gotta be.
She's got to be some kind of test tube baby, because there's no other way it works.
Yeah.
She's got to be a scientifically created person.
Who would want to touch on Palpatine?
Exactly. Well, apparently one of his advisors, according to legends, but that's how you get Triclops.
That's how you get a Triclops.
That's how you get Triclops. That's an actual legend story, too.
Listen to our weird Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, so in any way, it's got to be that she was genetically, scientifically created.
Test tube baby.
So...
Like Mork.
Again, it gives an explanation of where she comes from, and it would just be very, very interesting. And in that, it's Palpatine's way back in, like possession. This is an element we've seen from storytelling, and it's something we're going to talk about more with Palpatine, but his idea of having another body to go into comes from previous storytelling in Legends, yes, but it's kind of been established as an option, and it's kind of made its way into canon a little bit. So at first I was all on that. Nope, not a clone. That's stupid. Nope, no way. But then the film theory came, and I'm like, it can work. It can work, and I wouldn't hate it.
And at the end of the day, is it the weirdest thing that's ever happened in Star Wars? No.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I think there's this weird taste of clones, but it's like, but there's a whole TV series about where clones are just normative. So
yeah, like literally a clone army.
Right. Like, I mean,
although, if the world could have an army of Tamar Morrisons, would we really be upset about it?
Oh gosh, no.
No.
That'd be amazing. I would have 10 Tamorson dads. I could combine his first name and last name there for Morrison. He's just so amazing, I have to say it quickly.
Yeah, this is my dad Rex. This is my dad Cody. This is
exactly.
my dad Oppo.
Exactly.
Oppo.
Apo.
Oppo? Apo?
Apo.
This is my dad Forda.
I mean, I know they changed it to be a reference to Appa, so it's Oppo, but I've always said Apo. It makes way more sense and sounds better. I don't know.
Man, Dave Filoni.
So this was the one we put out there, asked you guys for some opinions. This was the one you guys were most vocal on.
Yes.
And so before we get into our Palpatine theories, because Dark Rey as a clone kind of leads into some conversation for Palpatine specifically.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk about some of these. So Kevin Wilson over on Facebook, he said, everyone is speculating Rey is a Kenobi, or Skywalker, or even related to Jyn Erso. I didn't know that was out there. Jim, did you know that? I didn't know that. Jim is our resident Rogue One expert, by the way. So
he is
certified.
He's our guy in the field.
But after seeing the Dark Rey lightsaber, it looks like a fixed Darth Maul saber, which was cut in half in Episode 1. And who else could have had that? Kira. Could Rey be kin to her and by proxy Crimson Dawn? I'm thinking the Knights of Ren could be the military for the Crimson Dawn, and if that's the case, it has ties to both the Emperor and Snoke. This one's really interesting.
It is interesting.
The biggest thing I get out of this was, like, when I read the whole Kira thing, my brain went to, wait, that means that Han could maybe passably be Rey's daddy too. I mean, like that's the biggest thing I get out is like Rey or Han got with Kira and Leia, and both had a child somehow connected to progeny of.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It's just I like the connection. I love Han Rey. Not wait, that's wrong. Not the
Han
shipping.
Rey.
I don't like not the ship. I just they're of the father-child relationships of Star Wars, Han and Rey is my favorite.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like one of the biggest reasons I love the Force Awakens, I'm going to go ahead and say, is I love the Han Rey dynamic. I love that relationship because it's also great storytelling in the sense of how Rey got what Ben never did, and it's this second chance for Han, and I just love it so much. The Force Awakens is my best Han. Like, it's the best Han.
Rey really has about as much luck with father figures as Spider-Man does.
Pretty much everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
It's really interesting though. I love how many connections people make between Rey and Maul though. It's so great. Yeah. But the most interesting thing, it's a really interesting theory. The most I like is, again, somehow if Rey was actually related to Han somehow and like his half sister to Ben, that'd be cool. Except for the incest part, but that'd be cool.
It makes
somebody. Here's the thing: if you're in Star Wars, always do a DNA test. Always. You never know. Never know. So that was an interesting one. Over on Facebook also, Alex Dotson said, I don't think she'll turn to the dark side. People thought about that in episode 8 and nothing happened. He goes on to say that it could be a vision, like Rey seeing herself if she turned to the dark side, or Palpatine somehow created a clone of Rey. So again, clone theory, very popular. I definitely think whoever the vision is for, Palpatine's in on it. I definitely think.
Absolutely.
Resident Rogue One expert Jim Capron over on Twitter said, it's kind of out there, but could Dark Rey be a simulation from Palpatine for Rey? Kind of like how Mysterio simulations worked in Spider-Man Far From Home. I kind of like that one too, in terms of like the mysterious storytelling of what's real, what is real. Kind of like, it's a really great way to add stakes.
Absolutely.
And so, again, that's one of those elements, I guess, if it had to be a vision or if it had to be some sort of fake, that'd be a great way of presenting it in a way of who's who kind of storytelling. I think it'd be pretty interesting.
It would be interesting.
Game Infinite, our friend Jesse, said,
Hi, Jesse.
Rey is a clone. That's why she couldn't see who her parents were, and that's why, from a certain point of view, that was them being nobody. The Dark Rey is an evil clone she must fight. So again, clone theory coming out. But again, I think there's grounds for that. Like, I've always interpreted the scene as, girl, you don't need no parents. Who cares who your daddy and mama were?
Exactly.
Go be the best you can be. Because that's...
You are an independent Dark Rey who don't need no parents.
Well, because the story parallels for her and Ben are your heritage doesn't matter. Because Rey is a nobody wanting to be somebody, and Ben is a somebody wanting to be nobody. That's the beauty of their storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I've always interpreted it as, Rey, stop being so obsessed with who your parents are and be obsessed with who you are and get yourself right.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be, get yourself right because you actually somebody, and it's the worst somebody. It's Palpatine. But
Yeah.
I just like a lot of elements.
If you could be a clone of anyone in Star Wars, dark or light, it would be.
If I could, what?
If you found out that you were a test tube
A clone
baby,
of somebody?
Yeah.
Starkiller.
Starkiller?
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
Starkiller to be my daddy.
Shave your head. No.
I don't have a head for that. I did it once, and I found out I do not have the head for being bald.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you know my answer.
Hashtag Starkiller Daddy. Maul.
Yeah.
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 Also somehow related
Also,
to Starkiller.
Sam
Witwer be daddy.
Oh,
my
God.
goodness.
Oh, no. Can we get that on a shirt, please?
Sam Witwer be daddy.
And then go up to him at a convention and freak him out.
Noir Inc. Another...
Transition.
Yeah. Just moving on. He's really great about interacting with posts, and I love how he comes from the left field.
Yeah.
In the sense that, I can always count on him when he's answering a question or asking a question or anything to be so untethered that it's like...
Also,
huh.
Nice beard.
Right.
It's a great beard.
So Rey is Kenobi's daughter. She got hold of an old holocron and it turned her to the dark side, maybe the one from Rebels, and sees the history between her dad and Maul and resents he left her for Luke and takes on the dual lightsaber as a nod to Maul.
You went Russian for a second.
Did I?
He does not.
Oh, I don't know. I was just trying to read it carefully. I'm tired and I haven't had enough coffee, so. The one thing I have with these kinds of theories of her being a Kenobi is he would have had to... How? Because he died in 19... he died in 0 BBY. Because it's the Battle of Yavin. So, here's the thing. He died like 5-ish years before the end of the original trilogy. Ben wasn't even born until a year later, so 6 years later. She's younger than him, so how would that work? Did Force Ghost... did he pull a Zeus and, Force Ghost into somebody's bedroom? Be like, hey, what's up?
We're a goose.
Hello there. It
would work.
Right, no questions asked. Are you a ghost? I don't care.
You know how some men like to preserve their lineage in a certain way? By freezing genetic
I don't think
material?
anybody enjoys doing that. I think they do that for necessary medical purposes. I don't think that anybody's just doing that in their basement, but, it's America. Who knows?
Hugh Hefner did.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Hugh Hefner.
I didn't... You said it you didn't...
Sorry.
I did not get what I thought you were speaking Jawa for a second. It's Hugh Hefner. I can't say a lot on that comment.
Yeah.
I really don't... The biggest thing is math-wise, I can't work it out unless he pulled a Zeus. But even then, that's really stretching the power of a Force Ghost. But, I don't know.
Power of a Force Ghost.
Yeah.
New romance novel coming soon.
Right. Feel the Force.
I'm so glad that I didn't have coffee in my mouth.
So thank you guys for joining in the conversation. We have a couple more to add in later, but as far as Dark Rey goes, that's a lot of interesting theories. Like I said, everybody's really into it, connecting Maul and Rey for some reason, but...
It's the double-sided lightsaber.
Yeah, it's something. Friend of the show, Ryan Bullitt, in addition to thinking that the Star Destroyers belong to the Emperor and are full of Sith troopers, said that it will end with Kylo and Rey versus the Emperor. That's my most... if the Red String of Fate kind of storytelling plays out, that's how I see. I see them teaming up.
Do you think Palpatine's going to have the 2 lightsabers again?
I think he'd have to if they face off. That'd be great. Because people forget he had 2.
I'm just like thinking back to the Maul and Savage against the
It was
Emperor.
epic.
That is my favorite lightsaber battle in all of the Clone Wars.
Well, and it goes to show Maul was almost as strong as his master.
Exactly.
So, I really do. My current belief is the ending is going to be Kylo and Rey joining forces and fighting the Emperor, and that's going to be the big battle.
Yeah.
I also think, I feel like the Sith Troopers have to be his project.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I kind of feel like the Star Destroyer, sure, but definitely the Sith Troopers belong to... They're Sith Troopers. He's the only one ever been aligned with the Sith in terms of this storytelling.
Yeah.
So I really do feel like this is going to be... The Sith Troopers are going to be part of his triumphant return to power. So, but with Palpatine, kind of to bounce back to the whole Dark Rise of Clone thing, that storytelling element comes from the Dark Empire comic series, which is $24.99 for the whole 3-part series.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out on Comixology.
It's very interesting.
It's really cool art style too. It comes from a period where art was very unique in Star Wars comics.
Yeah.
So it's very beautiful.
It's very dark in the literal sense.
Yeah, but it's
like
a very cool story.
Oh, absolutely. It's like the original TMNT comics.
Mm-hmm.
Super dark.
Yeah.
But very well done.
And Star Wars comics and books at that time were able to do that.
Yeah.
That would never get in film.
No.
But the main concept is basically Palpatine comes back. After Thrawn is dethroned in power, basically the Emperor makes his play and returns in a clone body. And then, obviously, Luke and Leia are the main characters. Luke actually falls to the dark side, much like, Rey's being built up to be this good character that could fall to the dark side. But Luke joins the Emperor for quite a while as the good guys just try and stop him. Like, every time they kill him, he just goes to a new clone body. He's basically just got this storehouse of clone bodies, and every time he dies, he just transfers his soul. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is this both works for transferring person to person and also person to object. Mm-hmm. We'll get into that, but basically, if Dark Rey's a clone, this could be the entryway, is that she was meant to be a creation for Palpatine's essence to go into.
Because he wanted something new.
Right, yeah, like, why is it a girl? I don't know, but...
Why is the Doctor female?
Oops.
Sometimes you just need a change, fam.
Maybe that was just the stronger way to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I said it. But, yeah, now, that's all legend, sure, and that's what a lot of people will say, but here's the thing. In canon, in the Darth Vader comic series, there's a character called Dr. Silo. Dr. Silo was very, very close with Emperor Palpatine and is actually one of the reasons that Darth Vader is Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. He helped create the technology to give Darth Vader life. So he's a super smart scientist. Okay. Mm-hmm. But he's also a real shady dude. Darth Vader kills him and he comes back. He also gets killed again and comes back. How? Because he's got clones.
He does.
He pulled the Palpatine and created clones that he could just... now, his thing is cybernetic. It's not force. Basically, his brain is just a downloadable file. Yeah. So every time he dies, it just goes to the cloud and then goes downloaded into a new body. Mm-hmm. He was close with Palpatine. That could be what... it's made out to be I'm friends with him because he gave you life and he's super smart and dark and creepy.
And you know what? It's canon.
Yeah. So, we're told that it's all about, it was for the creation of Darth Vader, but what if it's actually that was just a byproduct? Really, I was friends with him because he was helping me create immortality. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a way that in storytelling we've had introduced before that would kind of make sense. Mm-hmm. And so it's not that far-fetched, actually, for Palpatine to be trying to return by clone.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean he's a clone. It means it is Palpatine, but he downloads himself essentially into a clone. Mm-hmm. So that's bonkers interesting. Now, here's what I was thinking about in terms of... So if that's the case, basically the clones are just empty. They have no conscience. They have no soul. They're just created to be, filled.
Yeah.
So unless Palpatine fills it, they're nothing. So if Rey's alive and living and she's a person.
Yeah.
Something had to get downloaded in her for that to happen. I think that's the most interesting thing. Like, my brain goes, ooh, when it's like, oh, Dark Rey could be Palpatine in a Rey body. But then I'm thinking, wait, for that to work, that means that our Rey had to be an empty file that something downloaded in. What if the Force manifested itself in that? What if Rey is a product of the Force, just, purely the Force going into someone?
What if, like, her eyes go wide at some point and she asks someone, "Are you the one?"
Are you the one? Yeah. I'm, because there's no other good character that at that point had died that would make sense to possess her. And if they did, then they would have had their previous knowledge and memories and all that other stuff. Rey has none of that. So that means Rey's kind of a blank slate.
You know, it'd be so cool if we get, like, a possession by the Mortis gods of someone.
Ooh, what if it's the daughter? That'd be really interesting.
That would be very interesting.
See, again, it's interesting, but then it goes to another level, and it's like, if we get a character that was brought to life, I mean, supposedly Anakin was, yes, but that was through the manipulation of the dark side.
Yeah.
If we get the Force brought her life in order to stop the darkness, that would be epic storytelling on the big screen.
It would.
And so I really like that idea. Now, the other route is, so maybe Rey, none of that plays out, but he is going to come back by clone. That could explain the Matt Smith absence, because that could explain maybe the Dominic Monaghan. I don't know. I would rather it be Matt. I would rather it be Matt Smith. I'm just going to go ahead and say I love Dominic, but
I know.
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Dominic Monaghan had a whole show for like a couple years where he went out into the wild and just picked up bugs.
Yeah, he was just being an Australian.
But the thing is, he's British.
Is he? I thought he was Australian.
No, he's British.
Oh, okay. He's a British trying to be Australian then.
Ooh. He was in New Zealand, first of all.
Is that where he was doing his show?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he picked up a weta, which is a cricket that's the size of your hand. Not my hand, because my hands are very small. But, like, big hands.
Big, strong hands.
Look at these hands.
But
yeah, I would also like to point out that in my notes, it
autocorrected
to demonic Moynihan.
I swear I know how to type.
You did. You know what it is.
But no, I mean, I have been an advocate from the beginning of, like, I would really be okay. If he comes back as a clone, I'd really be okay if it's Matt Smith. Mm-hmm. I would love that, actually.
I just like Matt Smith.
Oh yeah, like that's my thing. Is like I want Matt Smith to be the Palpatine clone. As much as I love the Dark Rey theory, and as much as I just advocated for it, I would throw that in the trash for Matt Smith being the clone. Matt Smith wins. Matt Smith wins. So I'm kind of warming up to, like, and I'm pretty sure you can go back to past episodes where I've talked about, like, I'm so glad they didn't do the Emperor came back by clone thing and all that. Like,
yeah.
It kind of works for me now. Right. But here's my thing too, is I was thinking about this, and today, if this goes up on Wednesday, hopefully, today, September 11th, also dropped the Snoke one-shot comic from the Age of Resistance series. And in that, there's, obviously, it's all about Snoke and Kylo, which is golden storytelling in general. But I was just thinking more about Snoke, and there's this one line where he says, if I had had your uncle, I would have ruled the galaxy a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It's so snide. It's so out there. Mm-hmm. But
it's twisting knife.
Like, because I kind of feel like I would have ruled the galaxy a long time ago. Like 35 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like before I got thrown down a reactor shaft. Like, okay, this is my most tinfoil hat, way out there theory, but what if Snoke...
Put on your tinfoil hats.
What if Snoke unknowingly was a failed clone? Like, what... I mean, it would explain his grotesque appearance. Like, he doesn't know it. He doesn't know it, but he was an attempt at a clone body for the Emperor. It would explain how he has a connection to the Force. It would explain, again, why he's so misshapen. and why he is obsessed with Skywalkers. But what if there's a part of him that remembers a great long history? Like, here's the thing, because the explanations we've gotten for Snoke so far say he's been around since the rise of the Empire. So it's like, he's been around a while. Like, so what if it just turns out that he was a failed clone that didn't know he was a clone?
Hold up, that makes sense.
I'd kind of like that. I'd kind of like that origin. And it would also explain, why is this guy just all of a sudden in charge? Because the First Order was born out of the remnants of the Empire. The Empire was very loyal to their Emperor. So what if it was, hey, don't tell him, but he's a clone. We kind of have to do what he says.
Tinfoil hat snatched, fam.
Like, I really like the idea of it. Like, that's me reading a lot into one line of dialogue, which even in and of itself is really powerful. Like, he's obsessed with Luke. But it's that idea of,
do you think he likes
how long ago could you have ruled the galaxy?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my most out there theory, but I really am putting bets on Palpatine clone stuff. Now, the other thing is kind of connected to that we mentioned is maybe it's not a possession of a body, but a possession of an object, because you can do that as well. That's also been in canon with Darth Momin. But there's also been elements of Legends where that was how Sith lived on. That was their immortality. And that's why their version of immortality is never quite what the light side is because you're just trapped in an object. You're not experiencing full eternal life.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this futile attempt. So there's cool storytelling there, but what if the object is Darth Vader's mask?
It would make sense.
What if the blue flame coming up wasn't the natural reaction between body hitting reactor and was instead Sith alchemy? It was his spirit leaving his body. And who was the closest to him? Who was right there when all of that was leaving? It was Darth Vader. But Darth Vader was dying. So maybe Palpatine made a split-second decision of, I gotta do something, so I'm just gonna trap myself in this armor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Kylo is obsessed with this armor and supposedly is talking to Darth Vader.
But I have said it many times.
Yeah, Darth Vader became
gone.
Anakin. So Darth Vader, for
the spirit
all
of Darth
intents and
Vader
purposes, what I told you is
gone.
true. Yeah, Darth Vader's dead.
Exactly.
So for something to be speaking, it has to be something else or someone else.
Exactly.
What if at some point someone puts on the mask? Because how did Momin take over people?
Mm-hmm.
They put on the mask. All of a sudden, they were not who they were anymore. They were Momin. If someone were to put on the mask of Vader, Palpatine could take them over.
What if the red streaks in Kylo's new helmet isn't taking parts of his old helmet, putting them back together? What if it's taking pieces
He uses
of
elements
the
of
helmet?
that. Ooh, that would be interesting. That would be very
smashed
interesting.
His helmet.
Yeah, so he rebuilds it with parts of Vader's helmet, and that's Palpatine's way in. Now, here's another interesting thing, because we're referencing back to Legends a lot. In a very silly Legends story, something again to fill this gap of nobody knew what to do after the Palpatine stuff.
Yeah.
So they're just making it up. The Empire was in shambles. They were trying to figure out who was going to be in charge, and basically these dark acolytes that were obsessed with Palpatine and the dark side came out of nowhere and were like, oh yeah, you'll get another emperor, and he'll come with the glove of Darth Vader. That was their prophecy, is that the next emperor will come wearing the glove of Darth Vader. That's how you would know who he is, and that's how he would show his power. And so it was this idea of whoever wore the glove had the power. It's a very similar idea of, now here's the thing, it wasn't about like his glove was possessed or anything, it wasn't anything like that. But what if this takes elements in terms of the one who is to be the next emperor will come wearing the mask of Darth Vader? Kind of like, it's kind of like that same thing of like, it's connected to Vader, connected to Palpatine, gives us the new emperor. It's an interesting way to do it, I think.
It is very
And it's way cooler than the glove of Darth Vader, which is what
the power glove.
That's what the freaking story's called,
So
the glove
bad.
of Darth Vader. And that's when you get the story of, it's from the Jedi Prince series where you get Palpatine's son and all of this other stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. By the way, my saying "it's so bad" wasn't about the comic. It's a reference to the movie The Wizard, where it's all about the power glove.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Power Glove so bad.
Fred Savage.
But yeah, I mean, it's a way, like, if it's not clones, we know he was obsessed with Sith alchemy, possession. It's a big element there. I would be for it. It would explain the Vader mask. It would explain all kinds of stuff. So, it's another element that could work. I think. Last thing, and what we'll close on, kind of to do with Palpatine, but not quite. It's a theory of how will it all end. And everybody is obsessed with the Return of the Jedi drafts, the early drafts of the script that seemed to... They didn't make it in, obviously. But could somehow return, because Lucasfilm is very used to recycling things. And essentially, the way Luke originally beat the Emperor was that the Force ghosts came and joined him. Obi-Wan and Yoda came and joined him in the fight. So everybody's idea is, forget Obi-Wan, forget Yoda. What if Luke and Anakin come to help Ben?
That sounds tight as heck.
And that's the Rise of Skywalker. It's the family of Skywalkers joining together to defeat the ultimate evil. Like,
that does sound tight.
Exactly. And it gives us Hayden Christensen back.
Oh, yes, please.
It gives us Luke as a ghost. I mean, and it uses all 3 generations of Skywalkers. That would be amazing. I'm all for that. I'm all for that theory. Palpatine comes back as a clone.
1,000 generations live inside of you.
Ooh.
What if he's not talking to Rey? What if he's talking to Kylo?
Ooh.
Dude. What if that whole monologue isn't talking to Rey? It's talking to Kylo.
That would be amazing.
It would be amazing. It would subvert so many expectations.
It would. That would be amazing. I've been for Bendemption since the beginning.
Absolutely.
I'm also all for him paying a price for it. But I think the greatest way to go about that is for the whole 3 generations that have been involved. I mean, because if Palpatine comes back, this is the 3rd generation attempt, basically.
Yeah.
He took power with Anakin. He lost power to Luke, and now he's trying to regain it through his grandson. So it's like Skywalker's Palpatine, this connection is so strong, it has to be. Palpatine comes back as a clone, whether he uses his own or whether he kind of is attempting to use Rey, and in saving Rey and saving the galaxy, all generations of the Skywalkers, both beyond the grave and still alive, join forces to defeat the Emperor. That's the ending of a 40-year storytelling saga. 9 films. It'd be amazing.
It would be amazing.
It would be amazing. I'm for this. Now, this is a good point as we close and get towards the end to remind everyone, as great as theorizing is and as great as guessing and hoping for what can happen,
it's just a theory.
It's just a theory. It's just speculation. And at the end of the day, we're not smart people. I don't mean you. I mean us.
Hey.
I mean me.
I got book smarts.
There's no telling what's actually going to happen. Yeah. Maybe we've guessed some elements. Maybe not. Maybe nothing is going to happen. Maybe everything's going to happen. But the best way to go in 99 days from now, when you view The Rise of Skywalker in theaters, 99 days from now, go in and leave the theories at the door.
Yeah.
Have them have fun and everything, but leave the guesses and theories at the door and just experience what's been given to you.
Exactly. Be open to the experience.
Right, because there's no guarantee that anything we've guessed or said is going to be what happens. So better to go in with no expectations. And now, we just did this whole episode because we love speculating. We like theories. We like throwing around what could be. But we also like shutting that down and just experiencing what is, and enjoying that. So as much as we hope you've enjoyed listening to this and will enjoy the conversations that come from this, because we want your conversations, we want to talk to you about theories. As much as all that is fun and great, we don't want anyone to have a bad experience because of the theories or anything like that. And so just keep that in mind. Force Center Podcast, a great podcast, has the best example of it. Speculate responsibly.
Yeah.
You know, have fun doing it, but be sure to experience for what it is. You know, I mean, it just saves us some heartache. You know, and so, but with that, that's our theories. And like we said, well, that's not our theories. That's our discussion on everybody's theories. But hopefully now you know where we stand and what we want.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, join the conversation. Let us know what you think. What are some of your favorite theories? Which would you rather? Or if there's some you didn't hear here, then let us know. Share some new ones with us. We would love to do that. So
yeah.
In closing, just a couple of announcements. We just wanted to let you know that with Season 4, we're going to be doing a giveaway. We haven't done a giveaway in a long while, and so last month, August, was our podcast anniversary month. We did some swag packs for our patrons that joined or upgraded during that time, and our patrons have actually grown. We've got 2 new patrons thanks to our special offer and our 1-year anniversary, so we're very happy about that. But we have some leftover swag packs. We have some leftover stuff. And in order to give those away, what we wanted to do was do a giveaway. And so in order to enter the giveaway, all that we're asking you to do is to head over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a review, find Nerdherder on there, leave us a review, and then email us. Our email will be in the description of this episode, and we'll also post a tweet about the giveaway that you can find. Email us with your Apple ID so that we can find you and know you did it and enter you in. But basically, just leave us a review. Let people honestly know what you think. 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, 1 star, whatever you think. Apple Podcasts, there's a crazy algorithm, much like YouTube, and the more people talk about us and let people know what they think of us, the more visible we are, and that means more people are listening, and that means that this podcast is able to grow. And so we want your help in helping grow, and we will reward you. We will reward 4, because it's season 4, we will reward 4 lucky reviewers with swag packs. So just head over to Apple iTunes, leave a review, and then just email us. And you can also send us just a note there. You can. You don't have to just send your Apple ID. You can also say some other things. We won't charge you for that.
You can also just send us a screenshot of your review.
That's true too. So, but by email. You don't have to put all that out on like social media and everything like that. But yeah, it's super simple. Review, then email, and you're good. At the end of season, not the end of season 4. That's a long ways away. At the end of September, at the end of the month, we will draw 4 winners for that. So you have a long time to do it, but don't waste no time. Let people know you love the show. And make sure, if you're not already, to join us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those good places. So you can stay up to date, and you'll be the first to hear if you won or not.
And also subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube, Twitch. We're everywhere, guys. We're taking over the internet.
Ding dong the bell.
So by next season, we will have a MySpace, I swear.
Tom's our only.
Is that even alive anymore?
No,
I didn't think so.
It was taken down.
Yeah, I figured. Well, but that's our show, guys. Remember to hit us up. Remember to let other people know you love the show and enter into that giveaway. Get you some Nerdherder swag. And remember to stay scruffy. I've been your herd leader, John Wayne.
And I've been your herd mom, Megan.
This has been Star Wars Theories, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye!